agree with that? Do you accept that? That's what this unity consciousness is all about. So when we come to that realization, then we're what the mystics say. We are at the highest level of consciousness we could possibly be. And I'd like to call it beingness. That's where we are. And if we can walk this drama of human experience and stay in that consciousness of beingness, then we accept and we claim our own unique sovereignty over everything that's going on. How are we doing so far? We're doing okay. Many people, and I mentioned, this is very elusive to the majority, I think, on the planet. And the greatness of the positive things that I had a dialogue with Sandy this morning. It was really pretty cool. How long will PLC exist? Forever. There's no way that we're not going to be here. Because we are the light here in this community. And it shows within the research, it shows that if you change the consciousness of a mere 0.5% of the community, the 100 monkey effect goes into effect. That we change the consciousness of the entire community. And there's got to be a reason why we're not seeing the Ku Klux Klan marching on Highway 41. And some of you are saying, my God, did they do that? Absolutely. My first week on the job here, it was in April of 1987. I saw the Ku Klux Klan marching on 41. How many of you remember that? Any of you remember that? Yeah. I thought, oh my God, what am I getting into here? Where am I going? Does this community need the unity and oneness and the peace that PLC offers? Absolutely. Because we're changing things. And I haven't seen that go on for a long time now. Many people, and I put this down, it's kind of interesting, and I think maybe it's a slam, but many people live in the consciousness of a swamp. I mean, I thought about it, my God, people are living in the consciousness of a swamp. That we're always surrounded by all these problems, the alligators. And we have no control over it. We have absolute control of it. We need to come up with the idea of who and what we are, first of all. A lot of people will talk to me after I give a talk or after we have a class. Okay, Angelo, it all sounds well and good. I mean, you know, how can we consistently stay in the consciousness of oneness when I'm bombarded with all this stuff? Or I lose my job, or I do this and I do that. How do I stay in that consciousness? And so, what's the answer to all that? The answer to all of it has to do with, we need to take a look at, number one, how this divine energy functions with people who may not even have any idea about it. They've never studied the books, but what happens is that in this moment of crisis, it's like a laser beam. They put aside their own wealth and well-being, they put aside their own physical environment, and they reach out to do something special. There are so many miracles. Last week, on the news, talked about a lady in Virginia whose father was working underneath his car and he got trapped under his car. And without a thought in mind. Talk about transformation. I'll tell you, it's like a laser beam. When her focus was not on poor me or what's going to happen to me or the limitations. No, her focus was like a laser beam in a crisis. Save my dad. She ran to the car and lifted the darn thing. She ran to the car and lifted the thing up. It was on the news. Now, isn't it in the newspaper? Absolutely not. But she lifted the car up. What's that all about? When we get to that place where we're feeling sorry for ourselves and we have no control, think about this lady. Think about how she called into operation the sleeping giant within, which is who she is, the I am, which is not under the domain of the physical, but which has unlimited resources. I like to say, the CEO of the universe. And my gosh, lift the darn car. And Bruce Lipton, he's an author that I've read a lot. How many of you read Bruce? God, he's so fantastic. And a lot of it has to do with lifting things. But that's okay. He told about a lady who lifted, her name was Angela. Isn't that cool? He talked about a lady who lifted a 1964 Chevrolet. Her son was trapped under it. Now, I don't know how he got under it or how he got trapped. But she not only lifted the darn thing, she held it up for 5 minutes while the neighbors came and reset the jacks. And pulled the kid was unconscious, but she pulled it out. And then he talked about another situation. So as we go into this, don't tell me that we're not this divine energy. If someone who doesn't study it, doesn't go to this church, but where they call upon it in a matter of crises. Here's these workers, construction workers, working on digging out a ditch. And a helicopter comes and crashes into this ditch, pinning one of the workers under the helicopter. This is a fact. It was videotaped. It's on video. And what happened? All of a sudden again, we tap into the divine energy, that unlimited resource of all there is, tap into the resources. They picked up the darn helicopter. I said darn. They picked up the helicopter long enough so that the workers could pull the guy out from under, save his life. Pretty cool. So we can say, well, one way that we can connect and get a realization of who we are is by looking around and getting a life. I think we need to also get to the point where we say, I don't like what's happening in my life. It's not doing me very well, and I plan to change it. And so we call this radical reliance on God's help. Radical, and it's got to come from that self-knowing of who and what we are. Again, I believe in this life form because people will say, well, Angelo, well, all this stuff going on, why does all these bad things happen to such good people like me? I believe that there's a divine longing in the universe. I really believe this. And what is that longing? It's a longing for each one of us to evolve in consciousness so that we can let that magnificence of what we are shine in our lives. That's what we're doing when that lady lifts the car. But it's also what's happening when we face something that's very dreadful in our life. And we lift that as well. And we let the magnificence shine. So that divine longing, because I think there is a natural longing for us to all of us evolve in consciousness. I'm going to wind this down, so there's a story about a monk and a student. They're sitting beside this pool. And the students ask the monk very innocently, how do we embody this idea that we are the I am, that we are God incarnated here? How do you do this? And the monk grabs this kid, holds his head underwater for a period of time. How many of you heard the story? It's pretty cool. He's holding this kid underwater. He's flying and he's dying. He's drowning. Holds him underwater and then he pulls him out. And he said, why did you try to kill me? I'm your student. He says, I was just merely answering your question. When your understanding of who you are is more important to you than anything else in the universe, then you will have unity consciousness. Isn't that cool? Let's clap for the monk. I have an opportunity to relate also to that we can at will bring forth this idea of the power of who we are, the I am. Fire walking, we've talked about fire walking. But the lady was 23 years old, and she's in the Guinness Book of Records. She literally walked 220 feet in heat that was 1,500 to 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about that. She did it. What's that? Is that mind over matter? No, it's the divine as usual, just doing its thing. It's not under the domain of anything physical, which means on heat that can melt an iron bar, we can walk on it with our feet, 220 feet, 1,500 degrees, and not experience that. So a psychologist debated that and died. And he said, I'm going to try it myself. He said, I've got the right attitude for this. I'm going to try it myself. Well, research shows that if you think you're going to get burned, you're going to get burned. But if you believe you're not, you're not. So anyway, Bruce Lipton coached, I guess, this guy for a while. And so he did. He rolled his pant legs up, and he walked. Oh, it was like 50 feet, the thing, and got to the other end. He was amazed. There was no trauma under his feet. However,